My brothers and sisters, in life, we often feel the need to explain ourselves, to defend our actions, or to respond to every comment thrown our way. But let me tell you something. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can have. When people misunderstand you, stay silent. Allah knows your heart. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. When people provoke you, stay silent. Your dignity is far more valuable than a reaction to someone's ignorance. Look at the wisdom of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. He was insulted, mocked, and even harmed. Waste his time arguing. No. He remained silent when silence was more effective, and he spoke when speech was necessary. That is wisdom. Sometimes we rush to respond because our ego tells us, I need to say something. But in reality, what we say in the heat of the moment can bring regret. How many relationships have been broken because of words spoken in anger? How many friendships have been destroyed because of unnecessary arguments? But when you stay silent, you give yourself time to think, to reflect, to choose your words wisely. And let me tell you, when you trust in Allah, when you let go of the need to control every situation with words, things start to fall into place naturally. The people meant for you will understand you without explanation. The blessings meant for you will find you without you having to chase them. Silence is not weakness, it is strength. The strongest people are not those who shout the loudest, but those who remain composed in the face of challenges. The next time you feel the urge to respond to negativity, pause, stay silent, let Allah handle it. You will see how things start working in your favor without you having to say a single word. Silence protects your dignity in ways that words often fail to do. In a world where everyone feels the need to respond, explain and justify their actions, silence stands out as a mark of wisdom and inner strength. When you remain silent in the face of provocation, you demonstrate self-control, which is a trait of those who are truly strong. It is easy to react, to retaliate, to defend yourself with words. But the moment you do, you may lose a part of your dignity by engaging in unnecessary arguments or falling into the trap of anger. Many times people will misunderstand you. They will judge you based on what they see or hear, not knowing your true intentions. You may feel the urge to explain yourself, to clarify things so that others do not think wrongly of you. But in most cases, this explanation is not needed. If someone has already made up their mind about you, no amount of words will change their perception. The more you explain, the more you seem guilty in their eyes. Silence, on the other hand, leaves them with nothing to argue against. It maintains your dignity and prevents unnecessary debates that lead nowhere. When someone insults you, the natural instinct is to respond. You want to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to show them that you will not tolerate disrespect. But what happens when you reply to insults? It escalates. It turns into a back and forth exchange where emotions take over, and in the heat of the moment, words may be spoken that you later regret. By staying silent, you shut down the cycle before it even begins. The person insulting you is left with no response, and eventually they lose interest. Your silence shows them that their words hold no power over you, and this is what true dignity looks like. There are times when people will test your patience. They may try to provoke you, push your buttons, or drag you into an argument just to see how you react. If you fall into their trap and respond in frustration, they have made you lose control of your emotion. But if you remain silent, they are the ones who end up frustrated. They will not know how to deal with someone who refuses to engage in their negativity. This is why silence is not just about avoiding conflict. It is about rising above it. It is about showing that you are in control of yourself, not them. Silence also gives you time to think before you speak. How many times have people said something in anger and later wish they could take it back? Words once spoken cannot be undone. They can damage relationships, hurt people deeply, and cause regret that lasts a lifetime. When you stay silent, you give yourself a moment to reflect. You avoid saying things that could harm you or others. You preserve your dignity by choosing wisdom over impulse. In many situations, silence commands more respect than words ever could. Think about a leader or a person of influence. The ones who speak less are often the ones whose words hold more weight when they do speak. This is because they do not waste their words on trivial matters. They know when to remain silent and when to speak. Their silence gives their speech value. If you are constantly speaking, constantly reacting, people may stop taking your words seriously. But if you are selective with your words and remain silent when needed, people will pay attention when you do choose to speak. There is also a level of mystery in silence. When you do not reveal everything you think or feel, people wonder about you. They respect you because they do not know what to expect from you. When you always respond, when you always engage in discussions and arguments, you become predictable. People know exactly how to trigger a reaction from you. But when you remain silent, they have no power over you. They cannot manipulate you or push you in a certain direction because you do not give them anything to work with. Silence also gives you time to think before you speak. How many times have people said something in anger and later wish they could take it back? Words, once spoken, cannot be undone. They can damage relationships, hurt people deeply, and cause regret that lasts a lifetime. When you stay silent, you give yourself a moment to reflect. You avoid saying things that could harm you or others. You preserve your dignity by choosing wisdom over impulse. In many situations, silence commands more respect than words ever could. Think about a leader or a person of influence. The ones who speak less are often the ones whose words hold more weight when they do speak. This is because they do not waste their words on trivial matters. They know when to remain silent and when to speak. Their silence gives their speech value. If you are constantly speaking, constantly reacting, people may stop taking your words seriously. But if you are selective with your words and remain silent when needed, people will pay attention when you do choose to speak. There is also a level of mystery in silence. When you do not reveal everything you think or feel, people wonder about you. They respect you because they do not know what to expect from you. When you always respond, when you always engage in discussions and arguments, you become predictable. People know exactly how to trigger a reaction from you. But when you remain silent, they have no power over you. They cannot manipulate you or push you in a certain direction because you do not give them anything to work with. Silence brings wisdom because it forces you to slow down, reflect, and process situations before reacting. In a world that constantly pushes people to respond immediately, staying silent is an act of patience and intelligence. It allows you to observe, understand, and then decide whether your words are even necessary. Many problems in life arise from speaking too soon, without full knowledge of the situation. A wise person knows that not every question needs an answer, not every insult needs a reply, and not every situation requires their opinion. When emotions are high, silence protects you from making mistakes. Anger, frustration, and disappointment often cloud judgment. In these moments, reacting immediately can lead to regret. How many times have people said things in the heat of the moment that they later wish they could take back? A single word spoken in anger can destroy relationships, hurt feelings, and create distance between people who once cared for each other. But if you remain silent when emotions are taking over, you give yourself the chance to think clearly. You allow the emotions to settle, and you avoid saying something that could have long-term consequences. Listening is one of the greatest benefits of silence. Many people hear, but few truly listen. When you practice silence, you become a better listener. You start to notice details in conversations that you may have overlooked before. You begin to understand not just what people are saying, but also what they are feeling. You pick up on body language, tone, and emotions behind the words. This deep understanding allows you to respond with wisdom when you do choose to speak. It makes your words more meaningful because they come from a place of true understanding rather than quick reaction. In difficult situations, silence gives you the upper hand. People who talk too much often reveal their weaknesses without realizing it. They expose their thoughts, their fears, and their emotions openly, allowing others to take advantage of them. But when you remain silent, you maintain control. Others do not know what you are thinking, and this makes it harder for them to manipulate you. In negotiations, arguments, or debates, the one who speaks less often holds more power. They force the other person to reveal their position first, giving them the opportunity to respond strategically rather than emotionally. Silence teaches you the value of words. When you do not speak unnecessarily, your words gain weight. People start to listen more carefully when you finally decide to speak because they know that your words are not wasted. Imagine someone who talks constantly, always giving their opinion on every matter, always inserting themselves into conversations. Over time, people stop taking them seriously. Their words lose value because they are too frequent and often spoken without thought. But when someone who is usually silent chooses to speak, their words are noticed. They carry importance because they are rare and well thought out. Wisdom is not about knowing everything. It is about knowing what to say and when to say it. Many people feel the need to have an opinion on every matter, even when they lack knowledge. But true wisdom is found in those who remain silent until they have enough understanding to contribute meaningfully. It is better to stay silent and appear wise than to speak too soon and expose a lack of understanding. When you give yourself time to think, you ensure that your words are aligned with wisdom rather than impulsive reaction. Silence also allows you to learn from others. When you are constantly talking, you miss out on the lessons that can be. Silence invites natural blessings because it creates space for things to unfold in their own time. Many people feel the need to chase after everything: success, relationships, recognition, believing that constant effort and words will bring them what they desire. But in reality, what is meant for you will come without force. Silence allows you to step back and let things align the way they are supposed to. When you stop trying to control every situation with words, you start to see how life naturally brings you what you need at the right time. People often feel pressured to explain themselves, to justify their actions, or to seek validation from others. But the more you try to explain yourself, the more complicated things become. The more you try to prove your worth to others, the more exhausting life feels. When you stay silent and focus on your actions rather than words, the right people will recognize your value without you having to say a word. Those who truly understand you will not need constant explanations, and those who do not understand will never be convinced no matter how much you speak. Silence allows you to develop patience, and patience is one of the keys to receiving blessings. Many times people rush into situations because they fear missing out. They force conversations, push relationships, or try to demand results before the time is right. But when you remain silent and trust in the natural flow of life, you realize that what is meant for you will never pass you by. Opportunities that belong to you will come, and forcing things before their time only leads to unnecessary struggles. In moments of hardship, silence allows you to observe the lessons hidden within your struggles. When people complain constantly, they focus only on their difficulties, missing the wisdom that hardships bring. But when you remain silent and reflect, you begin to see the bigger picture. You start to notice the growth that comes from challenges, the strength that builds through patience, and the unexpected doors that open when you stop resisting and allow things to unfold naturally. When it comes to personal goals, silence is a powerful tool. Many people talk about their plans too soon, seeking validation or approval from others. But announcing your goals too early can sometimes lead to unnecessary obstacles. Not everyone will support you. Some may doubt you, discourage you, or even hope for your failure. When you keep your ambitions to yourself and work in silence, you protect your energy from negativity. You give yourself the space to grow without external pressure. Then, when your success becomes visible, it speaks for itself without the need for explanations. Relationships also benefit from silence. When there is conflict, silence allows emotions to settle before words are exchanged. Many arguments escalate because people rush to respond, saying things they do not truly mean. But when silence is practiced, it gives both sides time to reflect. It prevents unnecessary words that could cause damage, and it allows understanding to develop naturally. Sometimes the best response to negativity is no response at all. People who try to provoke you thrive on your reaction. When you do not engage, they lose their power over you. Silence also deepens self-awareness. When people are always speaking or surrounded by noise, they rarely take the time to reflect on their own thoughts and emotions. But when you practice silence, you become more in tune with yourself. You start to recognize your own patterns, strengths, and weaknesses. You become more mindful of your words and actions, and this self-awareness leads to personal growth. Many of the greatest ideas, solutions, and moments of inspiration come in silence. The mind becomes clear, and the answers that seemed hidden suddenly become obvious. Spiritual connection is also strengthened through silence. When people constantly fill their time with distractions, they struggle to hear their inner voice. But in silence, there is clarity. It becomes easier to reflect, to understand life's direction, and to recognize the subtle signs that guide you. The things you once chased after often come effortlessly when you stop forcing them. Silence allows you to surrender to what is meant for you, rather than exhausting yourself trying to control what is not. Silence is strength because it requires discipline, control, and patience. Many people associate strength with loudness, with the ability to argue, to overpower others with words, or to prove a point at any cost. But true strength lies in the ability to remain composed when others are losing control. It is easy to react, to shout back, to try and win every argument, but it takes real strength to remain silent and let wisdom guide your actions instead of emotions. When faced with the negativity, people often feel the need to defend themselves immediately. They want to correct misunderstandings, respond to insults, or prove that they are right. But the strongest individuals are those who do not allow negativity to disturb their peace. They understand that not every battle is worth fighting. Some arguments are traps designed to pull a person into unnecessary conflict. The moment you engage, you give the other person power over your emotions. But when you remain silent, you take control. The one who remains calm is the one who holds true power in any situation. In moments of anger, silence prevents regret. Many people have said things in the heat of the moment that they later wished they could take back. Words spoken in frustration can damage relationships, hurt those we care about, and create unnecessary tension. But a strong person knows that silence is often the best response when emotions are high. By not reacting impulsively, they protect themselves from making mistakes that could have long-term consequences. They understand that silence gives them time to process their emotions and respond with wisdom instead of anger. Silence also creates an air of confidence. People who talk too much, who feel the need to explain everything, often reveal their insecurities without realizing it. When someone is constantly justifying themselves, it shows that they are seeking approval. But a person who remains silent and only speaks when necessary shows a deep level of confidence. They do not feel the need to prove anything to anyone. Their actions speak louder than their words, and this kind of quiet strength commands respect. In difficult situations, silence can disarm even the most aggressive individuals. When someone is trying to provoke a reaction, they expect resistance, they expect an argument. But when they are met with silence, they are left with nothing to fight against. This is a powerful strategy in conflict resolution. Instead of escalating a situation, silence allows tensions to cool down. The one who remains silent maintains control, while the one who speaks carelessly often ends up regretting their words. Silence also gives a person time to observe and understand their surroundings. Those who speak too quickly often miss important details. But a strong person remains silent long enough to analyze a situation before responding. This ability to wait, to listen, and to process information before acting is what sets wise individuals apart from those who react impulsively. In negotiations, business dealings, or personal matters, the one who speaks less often holds the advantage. Self-discipline is another reason why silence is a sign of strength. Speaking is easy, but controlling the urge to speak requires patience and inner control. Many people struggle with the habit of speaking without thinking, but a strong person understands the value of restraint. They know that not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every opinion needs to be shared. By mastering the art of silence, they develop a sense of self-discipline that extends to other areas of life.